So we are extremely lucky to have our next speaker, as he is in very high demand. Shigeru Ariizumi is making his way back home to Japan from Europe by way of North America. Yeah, geography, right? He stopped off to meet with the NAIC commissioners yesterday, and today he will be our first featured speaker. He is the new chair of the IAIS Executive Committee, and he's going to share his thoughts on the future of global insurance developments. As a nice complement to the views we just heard from our C-suite panel earlier this morning, please join me in welcoming our most esteemed colleague and keynote speaker, Shigeru Ariizumi.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind introduction, Eric. I'm delighted to have this opportunity. It's an honor for me, privilege for me to speak at this NAIC International Insurance Forum 2024 here in Washington, D.C. Let me thank Commissioner Andrew Mice and other officers for welcoming me to this event, and also to hats off to the NAIC staff for organizing this wonderful forum. Before I get into the topic, I frequently visit the US, and there are several things that come to my mind. I'm actually I don't have anything against football or basketball or ice hockey, but I have to tell you that I'm a great fan of Major League Baseball, and actually, it's in my iPhone, the MLB apps. So I watch it in Japan, where we have a 13-hour time difference. So usually I watch it in the morning, and if I'm at work, I can't see it. But here, great, it's always in the nighttime, so great for me. Another thing that comes to my mind is that I spent half of my life here in the US before I graduated college, meaning that I was a great baseball fan. So I collected a lot of trading cards. That was in the 1960s and 70s. But sometimes very tragic things happened, because I left my hometown of Kamakura to attend a college in Tokyo, and I obviously left my baseball cards home. What do mothers do when they see something that they don't understand? They throw them away. So I wouldn't be here. I might have been sort of a baseball trading broker or dealer instead of being here on the podium to address insurance supervisors and regulators. Let me get back to the topic. I nearly forgot what I was supposed to talk about. So here I am as Eric introduced me. I'm the new chair for the executive committee of the IAIS, and I wanted to share with you to provide an overview of the key goals of the IAIS in the years ahead, and some initial thoughts on the work plan in the coming years. This is actually a timely topic, as we are at the end of the process to develop IAIS strategic priorities, strategic plan for the 2025-2029 period, which sets the vision and the goals for the IAIS in the years ahead. The strategic plan has been developed through a rigorous process of debate and engagement starting back in early 2023. The plan will be published Q4 this year, and it will come into effect at the beginning of 2025. I would like to take some time to share some key elements and then reflect on what this means for the IAIS work plan in the coming years. Overall, I would like to emphasize from the outset that the strategic plan will build on the strong work across the last 5-year period. In developing the plan, we have reflected on what we have achieved over the past few years, which key objectives and topics we are still delivering important work on, and how we see the insurance landscape continuing to evolve over the coming period. The plan assists us to have a clear, shared view of what our key objectives and goals in the coming period will look like, and also guides us in development of our annual work plans. So let me first put this into a little bit of context as we move forward. The 2025-2029 new strategic plan follows an intensive standard setting period for the IAIS. As all of you know, in 2019, the IAIS adopted a revised set of insurance core principles, what we call the ICPs, applicable to the supervision of all of insurers, and the common framework, the so-called COM frame, for the supervision of internationally active insurance groups. We have been also developing the quantitative element of COM frame, the insurance capital standards, so-called ICS. The ICS is a consolidated group-wide capital standard for IAIGs, which is scheduled for adoption as a prescribed capital requirement for IAIGs at the end of this year. Also in December 2019, the IAIS adopted the holistic framework for the assessment and mitigation of systemic risk in the insurance sector, which has subsequently been endorsed by the Financial Stability Board, or the FSB. Building on these milestone achievements, the IAIS will now enter a period of ongoing maintenance and refinement of standards. The focus of IAIS will now shift to a greater emphasis on supporting comprehensive and globally consistent implementation of the IAIS supervisory material, and also continued vigilance in assessing key risks and trends in impacting the global insurance sector. The plan has been developed cognizant of the emerging, and possible future trends expected to shape the insurance landscape for the next 5 years, such as climate change and rapid digital innovation. Global challenges demand a global response. The IAIS, as the global standard-setting body for insurance supervision with over 200 member jurisdictions, is uniquely placed to support its members, tackle emerging trends and challenges. The IAIS will also retain its roles as both a standard-setting body within the global financial architecture and a broad-based membership-driven association established to support members in their own efforts to strengthen insurance supervision. Now let me turn to our core objectives moving forward. There are 4 core objectives outlined in the draft strategic plan, which will drive the work plan of the organization. The first core objective is to monitor and respond to key risks and trends in the global insurance sector. Some discussion, as you have seen, was in the suicide discussion as well on this point. The IAIS has made significant progress in recent years with its framework to assess and mitigate risks to the insurance sector through the annual global monitoring exercise, what we call the GME, which is a key pillar of the holistic framework. In the coming period through the GME, we will assess and inform members on key risks and trends posted by the insurance sector and by individual insurers that could present risks to the stability of the broader financial system, or vice versa, risks and trends in the global economy that could pose risks to the insurance sector. In this endeavor, we will work very closely, as we have done before, with other standard-setting bodies and the Financial Stability Board. Moving to our second core objective is about setting and maintaining global standards. A key focus of the IAIS standard-setting agenda over the past 5 years, as all of you know, has been on developing the ICS. The ICS project has included a very important assessment of whether the aggregation method provides comparable outcomes to the ICS. And of course, I'm working very closely with our colleagues here at the NAIC on this point. Our other standard setting work has evolved to a more targeted approach of refining standards in response to emerging trends and in response to feedback from implementation assessment activities. In the coming period, we will continue with the ongoing maintenance of our global standards, while at the same time being vigilant to make necessary refinements in response to major trends and risks, certain recalibrations or feedbacks from implementation assessment activities. Also, with the adoption of the ICS from 2025 onward, the focus of the IAIS will naturally shift from ICS development to ICS implementation. The third core objective is sharing good supervisory practices and facilitating capacity building. Over the past 5 years, the IAIS has been very active in supporting the sharing of good supervisory practices and promoting understanding of supervisory issues, focusing on emerging and accelerating risks, challenges, and opportunities facing the insurance sector. Going forward, the IAIS will continue to support its members in responding to key trends and risks that affect the insurance sector and insurance supervision. The IAIS will build on the existing partnership with implementation partners and look for opportunities for closer collaboration with other organizations on a range of common interests. And the IAIS remains committed to assisting its members from EMDE jurisdictions for effective and proportional supervision to keep pace with the insurance market's growth. In recent years, I have mentioned the IAIS has invested heavily in implementation assessment activities. In the coming period, the IAIS will continue to strengthen its implementation assessment framework, building on lessons learned, and will apply a range of tools from intensive implementation assessments undertaken by us to building the capacity of IAIS members to address their implementation gaps. So the implementation assessment of major reforms and standards will continue or commence, as we emphasize, in the 2025-2029 period. In particular, let me highlight 3 points. Number one, ongoing progress monitoring of the implementation of the holistic framework, supervisory material particularly. Number two, implementation assessment of the qualitative elements of COMFRAME, which will commence next year. And number three, following the planned adaptation of the ICS at the end of 2024, the IAS will move into the phase of preparing to assess implementation of the ICS across jurisdictions and then undertaking the actual assessments. I would now like to move to another key pillar of our strategic plan, what we call the strategic themes. For the coming 5-year period, the IAS has identified 3 broad, cross-cutting strategic themes for its work program that have the potential to significantly impact or even reshape the insurance sector, and which warrant heightened attention and action by the global supervisory community. The strategic themes are threefold. Number one, strengthening supervisory response to climate change. Number two, adapting to digital innovation and cyber risks. And number three, supporting insurance to serve its societal purpose of building resilience. These topics also have the potential to impact the IAIS mission and thereby require an adequate response across supervisory mandates. And this includes, number one, financial stability, macroprudential objectives, such as assessing and mitigating possible emerging systemic risks stemming from the trends that I've mentioned. Number two, financial soundness or microprudential objectives, such as fostering prudent risk governance and culture as insurers adapt their strategies and business models in response to these trends. And finally, market conduct and consumer protection objectives, elevating the attention and priority given not only by industry but also for supervisors, to consumers' interests and treating customers fairly in the face of these trends. They are also highly relevant to other supervisory objectives, such as fostering financial inclusion or promoting market development. The IAIS is uniquely placed to provide a global supervisory perspective on these strategic themes. The strategic themes do not represent a radical shift in emphasis, but rather an evolution of themes that the IAIS currently focuses on. Nor will the IAIS focus on these themes to the exclusion of other themes warranting supervisory attention or other issues that may arise during the course of the next 5 years. So we want to be agile, we want to be forward-looking, and we want to be agile on what we capture as risks and trends moving forward. I will not go into these themes in more detail, greater detail, but will just highlight some of the focus areas in the coming years. First, I mentioned about strengthening supervisory response to climate change. This remains a priority topic for the IAIS, and the IAIS plans to deepen its work program on climate change. And given the unique role of the insurance sector in the financial ecosystem, I mentioned about building resilience and so forth, the IAIS will aim to be a leader in understanding the financial impact of climate change physical risks, including by developing metrics and tools and exploring the role of insurance in climate change adaptation and risk mitigation. At the same time, the IAIS will also begin to consider wider environmental sustainability risks to the extent these are relevant for insurance supervision. Our efforts on climate change will be supported through the work across all IAIS core objectives, including data collection, metrics and analysis, standard setting, sharing good supervisory practices, facilitating supervisory capacity building, and monitoring progress made in implementation. The second theme, as I mentioned, is adapting to digital innovation and cyber risks. Digital innovation presents significant opportunities, as all of us know, for financial inclusion, as well as policyholder value, yet also poses conduct and prudential risks. So over the next 5 years, the IAIS intends to focus on supporting supervisors in understanding the potential opportunities and risks of existing and emerging technologies adopted in the insurance sector, particularly, for example, AI. And we also look to promote convergence in supervisory practices and support supervisors to effectively adapt to digital innovation developments and fulfill their supervisory mandates, including an emphasis on the appropriate use of SupTech. The work of the IAIS will focus on the risks to consumers, to insurers, and the insurance sector at large. This reflects the interconnected nature of this theme with different pillars of the IAIS work and requires a holistic assessment and coordination among relevant IAIS groups in responding to these developments. And the final theme is about supporting insurance to serve its societal purpose of building resilience. I really like this part personally as well. And this is to some degree a shift in emphasis for the IAIS, although many elements of theme build on our existing work. At its essence, insurance exists to build societal resilience. For insurance to deliver on this purpose, especially for vulnerable elements of society, requires inclusive insurance markets characterized by product design, distribution, and servicing, which meets consumers' needs, addresses protection gaps, and treats consumers fairly. Insurance supervisors can play an important role in supporting and shepherding insurance to deliver on this societal purpose promoting access to and affordability of insurance has been a priority topic for the IAIS since the adoption of the Access Agenda in 2006. Under the new strategic plan, we will continue to advance our financial inclusion and fair treatment of customers' agendas. Affordability of and access to insurance that provides value to consumers is relevant across the full range of supervisory mandates and objectives. More recently, over the past few years, the IAIS has turned its attention to the role of supervisors can play in addressing protection gaps, collaborating with partners to develop supporting materials, focusing on pandemic and natural catastrophe protection gaps. I'm currently the chair of the IAIS Executive Committee, but before being a vice chair, I was the chair for the Protection Gap Task Force. So I have a very much interest and commitment to this topic. Going forward, we will focus on the concrete actions to support insurance supervisors' efforts in addressing protection gaps by providing guidance and tools for supervisors to use in line with their mandates. The IAIS also recognized the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion considerations, both internally within insurers' workplaces and in their approach to serve consumer population. As an enabler of the insurance industry, better meeting actual consumer trends, preventing discriminatory practices, and being more prudentially sound. I would like to thank everyone for listening to our vision for the future direction of the IAIS. As you are now aware, the association will have no shortage of challenging objectives over the period ahead, but always challenge means it's always an exciting time, and I want to be optimistic about achieving our mission. We very much look forward to collaborating with you to realize what is an ambitious but important agenda in the next 5 years. I hope you not only remember what I talked about baseball, but also my speech that I just made. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. Thank you very much.